Hey, kia ora, welcome back everybody. Here with a first time reaction to Mr. Chris Ryan from the Bravo 20 Patrol. So a number of requests have come through for this one and a whole bunch of others. The list is massive with regards to the requests for my reactions to those videos, and I will get to them, but slowly chipping away at it. So let's jump into this one.
For when my next podcast goes live.
First night on the run, we did 70 kilometers, about 50 miles, and we were carrying our belt kits, which was about 50 pounds. I burnt my feet because we were really hammering it. So the blisters then got infected. I was losing weight rapidly every day. You're lying there just freaking freezing and no sleep. And then at night, I could start moving, and two guys marched me out into a car. They didn't tell me where they were taking me or anything. And they took me out to the middle of the desert, and there was a pre-arranged RV with a secret police. And that's when this guy put the gun to my head. I ended up in a hospital in London, and because I drank some chemicals, and they think the chemicals have done something to me, because I get this patch, and it used to come up on my forehead, but it travels around my body. And the people that did the tests on me, typical of the army, they said, we didn't find anything. And as I was leaving, they said, do you have any family? I went, yeah, I've got a daughter. And he said, are you thinking about having any other children? And I went, yeah. He went, I wouldn't. And then I was like, why not? He went, we don't know what you've got. And my daughter was targeted. She had two policemen on her doorstep for 2 years. Why? There was a team of guys that were going to come along, on video and probably take her head off. And that was Scotland Yard anti-terror branch that cracked it, got it in. I was in America, in my house in America, and I got a phone call, and I thought they were going to tell me that there's another, following me, and it wasn't. It said your daughter's being greenlit.
Oh heck, this is exciting. I'm going to see how we go. Obviously, yeah, I forgot to mention this is with this guy, this channel here, so it's great that he's got cool production and can show that up. So anything goes with James English. Chris Ryan, I haven't seen this interview. Obviously a bit of some snippets, it sounds like, or some sound bites that they've grabbed to put in at the start of what he's likely going to be delving into. But man, there's some heavy stuff there with regards to his daughter being greenlit and targeted. I don't know if that's because of Bravo 20 Patrol that took place. And again, I haven't read that book. I have met the Kiwi guy that was part of that patrol, though. Man, I got to meet him briefly at another former member of the unit, Phil Hokianga, or Hoki, he was referred to as, and he was kind and gracious enough to invite me to a barbecue that he had at his company, his business called Vertical Horizons, and there was a whole bunch of other people there. But I got to meet the Kiwi, Mike. I think in the book, from what I've heard, they refer to him as Mark the Kiwi, but his name is Mike, or that's how I was introduced to him anyway. I won't mention his surname because I don't know if I'm supposed to, but a few people know who he is and have dropped his first and last name in some of the comments of my other videos. So it was a real privilege to meet him. I didn't speak to him about Bravo 20 and didn't feel like that I had enough time to sort of build any sort of real relationship to then get his number and to maybe stay in contact. So I never did that. I don't have a contact details for him, but it was a real privilege to meet the guy. And other than that, this will be pretty much my first time hearing about, if he goes into the Bravo 20 Patrol, which I'm assuming he does, that be the first time that I've really heard about it, like from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So let's carry on.
Boom, we're on. And today's guest, we get SAS soldier and author Chris Ryan. How are you doing, Christy boy? How are you?
Not too bad after that walk from the wrong station. Yeah.
first and foremost, thanks for coming on the show.
No, no.
We'll promote your new book straight away, but you're an author of 74 books, so I would be here all day if I was to promote all them. But
Yeah.
Chris,
What is this accent? Is that a Scottish accent? The host, this guy. Yeah, sounds, well, I don't know. Apologies if it isn't, or apologies if it is, blank and heck, no offense intended. But I'm trying to, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm thinking of a mate of mine that I was doing some work with. He does some, well, not work with, but in terms of YouTube stuff in the past. Lee Hazard, Strong and Conditioned. He's got a little channel that he has there. It's growing really well. It's growing well from last time I'd seen it anyway. But he's Scottish, and this accent, this gentleman's accent sounds sort of similar to that. Hopefully I'm right, unless I'm way off the mark then. Sorry about that.
Shrine Manhunter. This is a new one. What's this about, Chris?
Well, it's basically last year when I started to write it, as you've said, 74 books. I wanted to do something that was different. And I just felt, I thought back to when I was a kid in the spaghetti movies and the concept of that. And I just thought, right, I'm going to write a book, but it's going to have the best battle scene ever at the end, where it's right down to the last bullet. And some of my friends up in Newcastle, they're high level organized crime. So, you see, that side of life.
Did he just say some of his friends? It sort of sounded like some of his friends, high-level organised crime. Interesting, man. Far out. Yeah. Anyway, there's I suppose you're here for the reaction, so there's a fair bit running through my head when I think about that, or when I've heard that. Some of his friends are in high-level organised crime. Makes me wonder what sort of people the bro here, Mr. Ryan, is hanging out with. And I don't know, maybe that's, I don't know how or why you would be rubbing shoulders with people that are heavily into organised crime. But anyway, let's get off that, and we'll get back into the reaction.
And how they become legitimized and then become property dealers, have businesses and stuff like that. So it all starts off, say, modern day in London, and then moves into Africa. And as the story pans out, the British government has interest in a fictitious part of the continent, and basically it's mineral rights. And now this is very close to fact. And at the end, there's a massive firefight. And like I say, I won awards through the writing world for that firefight. And it came down to a few firefights that actually happened, one being in Tora Bora, where the guys were like fixing bayonets. I've been in quite a few firefights where you're down to your last magazine and you think, well, I'm going to be fucked here. And just something about the regiment that seemed to pull that like rabbit out the hat at the last minute. And there's countless other actions that they carried out. Probably the most famous one was in Mirbat, where there was a bunch of guys at a fort, and they were fighting off 250 rebels. There's only about 8 of them. One guy manned a 25-pounder, which usually takes 5 guys to operate. He was doing it by himself. He got his jaw shot off. He wrapped a rag around his face, carried on firing it. The other guys were getting shot and wounded, and they overcame 250 guys. So it's in that spirit, this story.
I love that he's just spoken about that. I think I heard bits and pieces where he's talking about the organised crime, where they, I guess, move into, and this maybe explains how and why he's connected. Maybe they're former organised crime people, I don't know. But he's talking about how they legitimize and go into legitimate businesses and all that sort of stuff. I don't know how that world works, but you see enough of it on movies with people wanting to try to go that route. And then he spoke about, obviously, the nature of this contact that he's put in this book and describing it, and drawn from his own personal lived experiences, other experiences. I have received requests to do a reaction to the situation in Mirbat, which Chris just spoke about. But yeah, that 25-pounder, manning that gun and just operating that by yourself, which usually, I think he mentioned, it's a 3 or 5 man team. Crazy. So yeah, the list is huge. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, there are plenty of reaction requests that I've got, and no shortage. So I will be chipping away at those, and hence why I'm just sort of now, with regards to the memberships channel, starting to grab bits and pieces down, starting to make my way through that list. It's going to take me. I don't see any end in sight in terms of when I'll be able to get through that list, but I'm here for it and enjoying and learning in the process. No doubt he's had been involved in a heck of a lot of contacts or gunfights and been able to draw on that experience to help with his writing. Cool to hear that he's won some awards and stuff as well with regards to his writing. I've not read any of his books. And also, what else did he say? Oh, and about the operators within the regiment just somehow able to pull a rabbit out of the hat. And there's been many examples of that, not just with the regiment, not just with 22 SAS, not just with the SAS in general in NZ or Australia, but in, the American situations as well, or the American Special Forces and that as well, where people have just been able to somehow pull a rabbit out of the hat. Don't get me wrong, a lot of sadness as well, where people haven't gotten through some of those very difficult, challenging times, confronting times. But yeah, there have been times clearly where people have been able to pull a rabbit out of the hat, as he's mentioned, and it's great to hear and to know that those things have happened. Little sad, disappointed that they've happened in the first place again, but we've touched on that in terms of breakdowns in leadership and the communication and the inability to try to find a peaceful resolution. But I think there'll always be a need for special forces to be able to do what they do, and your militaries in general. So let's dive into this. I'm going to keep this to around about 20 minutes, and it'll take as many bites at the apple as it takes.
Where can people buy your books, first of all?
Well, obviously, they can order it from any good independent or Amazon. Any bookseller will hold it, but Amazon's the quickest way. But I would say support your independents. Every town, village should have one, and then online.
Good. I've watched many of your videos. Some fucking fascinating stories in there. Like you break the world record for. Well, it's not even a world record. It's just a mad record actually. You are the longest escape in history. You walked nearly 200 miles, 7 days, 8 nights, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Through the desert, and you survived. Like, it's a mad story, but we'll touch on all that. But firstly, I always like to go back to the start for my guests, where you grew up, how it all began.
Well, I was born in a place called Consett, which my parents, my father was in the building trade. We didn't have a pot to piss in. I would say we were in a loving environment, but very poor. No holidays or anything like that. Clothes were always like hand downs. But back in them days, it was before computers, the internet, or anything. So, I'd spend my time outside. My father showed me how to catch, say, rabbits, birds, and stuff like that to eat and stuff. So I spent a lot of time just running around the moors around the northeast. I've got 2 brothers. One, he didn't want anything to do with the army. He's got a garage. He does his own thing. Another brother who's still in the parachute regiment. He got commissioned, and he's quite high up in the rank side.
It just made me smile when he said his dad would take him out, show him how to catch rabbits and birds, and then it's like to eat. I didn't think of anything else. I didn't think he was catching them to torture them or anything. Mind you, just off topic for a sec, that is one of the questions that got asked. I should have mentioned this on during part of the psych evaluation for my time on the New Zealand selection. It wasn't specifically like that. I think it said, "Do you enjoy teasing animals?" or something along those lines. And I instantly just it was teasing or torturing. I'm pretty sure it was teasing, and I put no. And I thought about it later, and I was like, oh, actually, yeah, like I would have a torch, shine the torch, and the cats would be like like chasing it around, and I'd be laughing and moving it around, or I'd have a string and be pulling that, and the cat would blink and my mum's cat would try to get to that as well. But in that moment, I don't know whether it's right or wrong. I didn't think of putting down yes, even though I thought of it later and thought, oh, actually, hang on. Yeah, I would muck around and try to tease them, put it up on the wall, and the cat would be jumping up on the wall. It did actually rip a couple of, when we had wallpaper, damaged the wall a little bit during that time. But then, learned to quickly stop doing that. But just hearing him speak about the catching rabbits and birds to eat, I think just maybe they got asked questions like that too. Maybe he was worried that people might think he's just doing it just to kill them for the sake of killing them. They are a pest, rabbits, from what I understand, but they are also good eating. So let's carry on.
All I wanted to do was travel, and I squandered my school life. I was a product of when schools went from secondary schools to grammar schools into comprehensive. And it was a bad period of time because the grammar school teachers hated the secondary modern teachers, and they just didn't get on. Well, I used that discord so I could sit in a class of 30, keep my head down, and nobody would ask me a question. And I was just happy. And I'd be looking out thinking that the best way for me to do anything or to fulfill my dreams was to join the army. And in them days, we had bases in Germany, all around the world. And I thought I'd get to see places. Now, I joined the army, and the first thing I realized is I'd squandered my education. And within the army, to get rank, you have to go through the educational process. So again, the difference being in the army, you can't just fuck somebody off. And if you don't work, you're not going to get promoted. And chances are, being in the SAS, you're going to get kicked out.
Really interesting just listening. There's a few things that I can connect with. One, just acknowledging he spoke about his brothers. One didn't want anything to do with the military. He's got his own shop or garage, I think he mentioned. The other one is still in the paras, being commissioned, so I'm guessing he must be an officer or a Rupert, as Big Phil Campion would call him. No doubt his brother here probably refers to officers as Ruperts as well, or some might say Muppets, but they're not. I guess it's a stigma that's been branded or placed upon them by disgruntled ORs or other ranks. Maybe in some cases, rightly so, maybe. But I definitely know there's a heck of a lot of very, very good officers and men that I'm proud to call my friend, even though I might still hassle them from time to time for being Ruperts. And then the other part that stands out to me, which I can really connect with, is he's spoken about having squandered his education. I 100% did that in school. I thought, I'm going to join infantry. Like, never in my wildest dreams did I think I needed to have school certificate, or that's what it was referred to back then anyway. And then to find out from the recruit sergeant at the time, you need school C. I was like, what the hell? I just wasted my 5th form high school year, and I didn't get school C. I bloody failed the subjects that I needed to have school certificate. So there I was, 6th form at the time, and needed to resit the 5th form subjects in order to get school C. And then, so thankfully I did that, just barely passed. And then chilled my 7th form year, just played sport, went to school at recess and lunchtime, and and then just hung out with my friends, played sport till it was time to go into the army. But the other part that I heard him talk about, that's quite interesting in terms of your education and rank and promotion and all that sort of thing. For me anyway, personally, I don't know about Mr. Ryan. Rank never factored into the equation for me with regards to a career in the military. I knew I was wanting to stay in there for a long time, and I'm actually, never thought I'd be married or have children, never thought I'd be out of the army. I thought I'd just stay there till either didn't come home or, retire once I keep staying in for as long as I could. But things change, and that's all good. But even with that mindset back then, I never envisaged myself with any sort of rank or having any position of authority. So it's interesting hearing him touch on it. I don't know if that's what he was wanting to do in terms of being promoted, but clearly it's something that, and I think is a good thing, it's something that the British military encourage and promote and want their soldiers to be, I guess, thinking of the next stage in terms of career progression. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, I definitely didn't have that mindset going into the Defence Force. And so I suppose if I was to use that, I would recommend anybody going in to be open to that. Take advantage of the educational opportunities, not only prior to going into the Defence Force, if that's what you're looking to do, but also once you're in. There are a lot of opportunities if you can push hard enough, and if you've got good leaders, and if you're proactive enough to be able to get onto some further education and training, whether it's to do a trade, whether it's to do a degree, and whatever it is. The Defence Force is a great pathway to help you in doing that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that piece anyway. Let's carry on with this for a little bit longer before I wrap up this one.
Now, several things happened. I'd been in the SAS for 2 or 3 years, and I was picked to be sent off to go to Germany to do the German Alpine Guides course, which is it's a 2-year course, and you have to be able to speak German, write German, read German. You're going to wear a German uniform, and everything is in German. So they sent me down to Beaconsfield, which has the British Army Language Lab. I was put into a class with colonels and other high-ranking officers who were getting ready to go out to Germany to take over their regiments, and they'd spent loads of time in Germany, so their German was really, at a high level. I got in there, and I was like, I can't keep up. So I phoned my sergeant major up in Hereford, and I said, "Here, listen, it might be better if you send somebody else up to do this course, because I'm finding this language really hard." And he went, "If you don't pass, don't come back," and just put the phone down on me. And I was like, fucking hell. So thankfully, the education officer, he being an ex-teacher, I said, "What, I'm having problems here." He said, "Yes, because your English grammar is that of a 3-year-old. So he said, "If you want," he said, "it's not going to be easy. You can, after 6 o'clock, after work, you can come to the house. My wife and I will run you through English grammar. It'll be up to about 11, 12 o'clock. We'll set you, homework." So I was living in the block in Beaconsfield, and I think I was running on about 2 or 3 hours per day. It was the hardest I've ever worked mentally, but I passed that language course. Then I went on to go over to Germany and pass the Alpine Guides course, which again it's the highest level of any mountaineering course, because again, you're a guide. You have to know the makeup of weather, the makeup of snow, prediction, everything else. That's before you even strap a set of skis on, or a climbing harness. It's rescues, working with helicopters in the mountains, everything. So it was a very fulfilling course. But from a mental side, I knew if I set my mind to something, I could do it.
That's a perfect place to stop that just there. Sorry, he was just about to go into something else, but man, lots in that. I love that last part. If he sets his mind to something, then he knows that he can do it. I think that's the same for anyone out there. You don't need to come from a SAS background, Special Forces background. I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that you set your mind to something, you can, and you focus in on it, good things will happen. It may not happen within the time frame that you want, but good things will happen. So, man, definitely take that and store that in your skyrocket or in your back pocket or up here. Keep it front of mind and look to apply that, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're studying right now, just like what he was talking about, the Alpine Guides course, 2 years, got to be reading, writing, communicating in German. Everything done that way. Wearing a German uniform, he was talking about what they did. That is intense and awesome to hear that how he got through that. Running on a couple of hours sleep a night, 2 to 3 hours for an extended period of time, but also the kindness of those people that took him in that then started to help him with his, I think they said English grammar, but helping him with the language, and that enabling him, he had to still do the work, he had to turn up, he had to be disciplined, he had to be consistent, he had to want to be able to do that. And it probably, likely, definitely helped with a bit of a phone call from old mates on the other end of the line back at the regiment saying, if you don't pass, don't come back, dunk, and then hang up. And like his reaction is like, oh, freaking heck. And then he sought out people that could help him, let them know, said, oh, I'm struggling with this, I need help, can you help me? And these people, blank, and whoever they are, took him on and said, hey, come around, you're going to be up late, we're going to be doing this, and but if you put in the work, if you're willing to make the sacrifice, time commitment, etc., then we reckon we can help you. And it's just awesome that there are people like that, eh? And there's clearly people like that, lots of people out there that have been helping me with my little channel, and people out there that have helped Chris Ryan with regards to what he's been able to do, what he was able to achieve, and that's awesome. So anyway, I know that there's going to be a heck of a lot more. That's about 10 minutes worth. That's 26 minutes on there. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Really appreciate everybody's time and support. Sorry if these are a little bit shorter. There's just a lot that, or even just in this short amount of time, and when I'm reacting to people, there's either lots of things that just stand out to me or things that I can resonate or connect with. So hopefully it helps in some small way. I really, really appreciate your support, your time, the comments that you take the time and effort to write down. Still trying to work my way and being as consistent as I can in responding to those. So thank you very much. By way of the progression towards and what we're doing with the channel, or what I'm doing with the channel, there are memberships now available. Please note that in the coming weeks, things will be shifting. There will be more reactions and more Q&As and live streams and react with me opportunities depending on the different tiers or the different levels of which people have decided to join as a member. That will be available. There'll be merchandise discounts, there'll be opportunities to shape and have input into what those things look like, and potentially the direction of where we head, as well as member-only prizes and giveaways, and the opportunity for those biannual trips to come away, all expenses paid, travel, accommodation and food. So there is lots happening. It is exciting. So as you will start to notice and see on the main channel, there'll be pretty much only 2 reaction videos made public available per week on the channel, depending on what level subscription, depending on what level membership you choose. You'll have access to 3 reactions per week, and then depending on the other one, you'll have up to 5+ reactions that will constantly be available, as well as all that other stuff that I just mentioned. So sincerely appreciate your time once again. Whatever challenges, struggles, trials that you may be going through, man, all I can say and constantly try to remind and put out there and encourage you to do is just to keep turning up, to stay in the fight, to know and trust that there are better days ahead, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that the sun will shine again. As difficult and as challenging as it, and as hard as it may be, I don't pretend to know the difficulties or the gravity of what it is that you're going through. I don't. But I do know that everybody's going through stuff and that you are not alone. That even I'm going through stuff. All of us are. All of us have challenges and things that we're going through. Whether they are comparable to yours or to mine is irrelevant. It's challenges and struggles and trials that are unique to you and I that we have to go through. And that my experience has been the need to be consistent and be disciplined and just keep turning up and keep staying in that fight every single day. Put one foot in front of the other. So remember, go always a little further. Who dares wins. And as always, a big mana wave filled with my aroha respect and appreciation to you. Until the next video.